Ladies and gentlemen, it's my absolute pleasure to welcome to the show first timer, but I have a feeling it'll be the first of many appearances on this show. Mr. Jeremy Ogle coming to us from the beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. Jeremy, hi, how are you?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. I've been looking forward to talking with you for quite some time now. Ever since I saw you training for and finishing the 60K at the Black Canyon Ultras just a few weeks ago. And so thank you so much for sharing your time with us.
Oh, you're welcome. My body still feels like it was about a week ago. I'm
I
not a
think
trail runner, but I'm not an ultra or trail runner by any means.
well, you are now, like it or not.
Well,
You're in
yeah,
the
yeah.
club for life. So I think that's just kind of the rite of passage, your initiation period after your ultra is like a few weeks of feeling like shit.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Everyone's like, "What, 60K?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm used to running a whole about 100 and some thousand meters less." Like, but it was a good time. I loved it.
Yeah, I will. We'll get to that story. I do want to hear all about your run and how that went for you, especially for a first timer. It a lot of things can go wrong, a lot of things can go great, and it's just kind of like dissecting what how the day went for you and what worked for you, what you learned. But before you get to that, what I initially found you on Instagram, and your handle caught my attention, and then your posts just completely blew me away. For those of you who don't know Jeremy goes by Arm Solo. Jeremy is an amputee. His left arm is amputated just above the elbow by a few inches. um, if you're watching on YouTube on our video, you can see that he's sitting very comfortably relaxed in his home right now. But I really want to hear about your story and what makes you so unique. Your story is very special. I think a lot of people can probably it'll resonate with a lot of folks, and I think at the heart of it, it's about just the human triumph. I think that you are exuding just by being you and not letting life take you down, but instead flipping it on its head and saying, no, 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 no. I am the king of my own castle, and I'm going to make a difference in this world. So, and I also want to mention that you are also a single father, full time, which I also think speaks to just what kind of person you are. That you're completely crazy,
For real. And it's a
but
little girl.
but you do what's absolutely necessary to get the job done. So, with no further ado, Jeremy, can you give the folks just a little background with your competitive history? Because you're not just like a first time ultra runner, you have some freaking credibility to your name, and give us an idea of what that is.
Uh, so my accident was about 8 years ago. Um, and about a year after that is when I started getting into fitness, just so that way I wanted to be strong enough. Like it sounds cliche, but I started going to the gym so I could hold my 7 pound, 6 ounce daughter for as long as possible because it was hard to do after my accident. And I was a lot smaller when I had two arms. So I started off with adaptive CrossFit. So I would compete in competitions with Will Wad and Wodapalooza out in Miami, Florida. So CrossFit is what helped me kind of fall into myself as far as using what I have available to me to get the job done. I learned how to use momentum. I'm 117 pounds with one arm, so as strong as I am, I still have to learn how to make everything work for me. Um, so after that, I ended up breaking my hand while doing a 165-pound clean. So I was forced, yeah, the only hand I have.
Oh,
uh, so then I started running more. So I'm one of four 2018 Spartan para champion of the world, first ever. So my team Spartan is obstacle course racing. And then I went back a year later with another team and took third place. So I've done that. I have a gold medal for the 400 meter and a bronze medal for the 200 meter in 2017 at the U.S. Para Track and Field Nationals. the championships out in LA. And then I don't know. I have one FKT. I don't know if that's something to be proud of or
It
whatever.
certainly is, unless it's just running from your bedroom to the kitchen. Then no.
Right. So I have the FKT for the descent on Payaso Peak in Phoenix, Arizona. It is a roughly 1,200 foot elevation descent down 0.98 miles. Um, and it's just a jagged, rocky mountain that you literally basically fall down. So I did that in 6 minutes and 56 seconds.
Wait,
Um,
wait. How? What's the distance again?
it is so the segment tags 0.98, 0.99 miles. So 1 mile and you drop, it's Strava and everything else, but you drop about in between 1,100 and 1,200.
Holy moly.
It's switchback, single track, and it is one of the top 10 most visited trails in the country. Shouldn't be, but it is. So not only do you have to run down that distance and be able, every step has to be the right step, but you're also playing Frogger in between. So I don't know. I think it's amazing how life comes full circle. The person that I grabbed the record from actually created the shoes that I was wearing while I took it.
No kidding.
Um, yeah. So I don't want to come off whatever. I just think that's amazing. Like that's life coming full circle. Like, um, so I don't know. And then someone asked me if I wanted to represent Challenge Athletes Foundation at Leadville. No idea what Leadville was as of 2 months ago. I'm not a trail runner. I agreed to it because the organization helps out a lot of athletes with physical or cognitive disabilities. Um, so I said, yes, I would love to. And then I went home and researched that Leadville is a 100-mile race at elevation. So at that point in time, I was like, I should probably start like running distance more.
Yeah, that, and I think you should research things before you say yes. That might be a good idea. I appreciate your
Remember,
positive attitude, but
remember at the beginning of this, if you asked me if I had any questions, I was like, I'm not really a question
I'm
person.
not a question person. I just jump right in. Leadville, I'm in. Sounds great.
So now that I have researched it, I am beyond grateful and thankful for the opportunity to not only represent this nonprofit, but also people have been trying to get into this race for like 20 years and still haven't gotten into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let alone most of the people who go, like a lot don't finish. And I'm like, so my year is dedicated to going from I don't know, someone who bombs down 1 mile mountain to 100-mile runner,
Wow.
ultra runner. So
Wow.
yeah, I've done the Grand Canyon rim to rim to rim. I've done it rim to rim barefoot.
Wait, hold up. There's just too much coming in right now. Okay. I'll get to barefoot rim to rim to rim. Let's back up. Let's pause right here at Leadville. When you learned about the elevation at Leadville and just kind of what this means and what you're going to have to train for, what was your takeaway from that?
So I was, I think I was less intimidated by the whole elevation because that's going to be the hardest part, I believe, that and nutrition. But I've done Ragnar's and I've gone from Phoenix, Arizona to all these other places. And I've never felt that the elevation change has bothered me anywhere from 7 to 11,000.
Mm-hmm.
I've flown to a lot of competitions or races where there's no acclimation time available to me at all because I'm a full-time single father. So
Yeah.
my daughter gets out of school, I take her to babysitter, I fly out, I race, I wake up, I fly home. We're getting ready for, school the next morning.
Yeah.
I think after some research, I've read that running in the heat, hotter temperatures, is something similar. It's never going to get you the elevation training and the full benefits of it, but it's similar to it. And thankfully, I live in Phoenix, Arizona, and I love running in the heat because the trails are clear and there's no one there. Um, and then also 2 hours north of me is Flagstaff, Arizona, which is where all the amazing people live, and I would love to live. But I can go visit, and 2 hours north of me, I'm at 7,000 feet. Another hour, I'm at 9,000 at the base of Snowball, and I can hike up to Humphreys Peak, which is 12,006. So,
Mhm.
um, I think that I have an advantage over some people, not the rest of the crazy trail runners, because they're just as crazy. They don't need this and all the life experiences I've been through. Um, but I think I don't know. I like the challenge. I like the whole, it's you go in and you got to finish the job.
Yeah.
There's no turning back. There's no quitting. You figure it out along the way and you adapt at any situation that comes up. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think I do want to talk about your barefoot running, what is wrong with you uh, at the Grand Canyon. But I really want to jump back into kind of the core of your story. Um, because I think it will press upon people just like what kind of individual you are. So you said about 10 years ago, is that right? 15 years ago?
um, almost eight.
Okay.
June 20th, 2015 was the morning. So it was like 2 a.m. the morning of my accident, my wreck. I say
So
wreck.
let's talk about that because then it just led to another complication, which you had to make a decision. And then lo and behold, 3 months later, there's something else going on in your life, which you have to, take care of. So
Yeah.
let's go back to the accident. What happened?
So drinking and riding. Um, it was a normal habit for me. I grew up on quads and motorcycles my whole life. I grew up in the dunes out in California at all the holidays. So, but basically just leading up to that, I've partied a lot, I've drank a lot, and it was just normal. So I used to be a cell tower tech. So I used to go and service all the cell towers. Anywhere from 40 feet to 300, 400, 500 feet. I'd be gone for 2 or 3 weeks or a month. I'd come home, party with friends. So basically, it was one of those weekends. I came home after being gone for I think a month, and I just decided it was just whatever, normal. Just drinking and riding. I was on my way home. I have no recollection of anything. There was no witnesses. Someone called 911 operator. They saw lights in the distance and they took off. I don't blame them. So basically, I wrecked on my motorcycle. My blood alcohol at the hospital was 0.274.
Holy shit.
That's over 3 times the legal limit
Yeah.
in Arizona, probably everywhere. I weighed maybe 100 and like 121 pounds, maybe. Um, and then, so I woke up in the hospital a couple of days later, very incoherent. And then they send me home after 3 days because they thought, well, my part of my neck and back were broken. My brachial plexus injury, which is a trunk of nerves, 5 different nerves that control your upper body, left and right. My left side is ripped out at the spine. So the
Oh
arm
my God.
itself was, yeah, the arm itself was fine, but the rest of it, because the nerves are pulled out, nothing ever gets fed. Um, so I think you can see
Yeah.
skin and bone. And then I eat shit when I go to my left, so it's always a fun ride. Um, but yeah, so I stared at my arm for about 3 months because they never told me what was wrong with me. They just said my arm was bruised. Give it 2 or 3 weeks and you'll see something.
So what was
So
going
I
on?
was
What was going on with your arm at that point?
At that point, I didn't know, and I was told nothing. The
Did you have
hospital didn't.
did you have full functionality of your arm? Was it
My arm from the shoulder down, there is zero function.
wow. Oh
Zero
my
function.
gosh. So it's just hanging there and just kind of like flopping around as you're
And
going about your
hang,
day.
yep, and hanging out of socket.
And
So
it
thankfully I did.
boy, holy moly. Wow.
Yeah. So I was a 27-year-old small man who did everything I could to try and be a manly man my whole life to fit in and work. I used to work on drilling rigs in Texas and all these things. And then they take an arm. Like, well, they didn't take an arm, but my arm just doesn't work. And I'm like, what am I gonna do in my life
Like
now?
you're like the badass of the lightweight division is what you like. You're working oil rig, you're working 350 feet up in the air on a cell tower, riding motorbikes, quads, all that stuff. Oof. Okay. Um,
Yeah, very, very wild, very wild. So arm doesn't work. My buddy Chris Siebold that I went to school with from third grade from Texas calls me and says, "Hey, I think what happened to your arm is a brachial plexus injury." And I was like, "Yeah, what do you know? This, you're talking to me over Facebook. Like how are
yeah,
you gonna diagnose me? You're not a
yeah.
doctor."
Right. What'd you
I go
watch?
to
Like
I,
some TV last night and like, oh, look at what happened. Okay, that's what he has. That's what he's
Yeah, he had the same thing happen 8 years before that, but his arm came back because his was just a stretch of the nerves.
right, where yours was ripped
Well,
out.
yeah, I tell the neurologist the next day. I actually had an appointment, and he tells me to wait a year or two to see if the arm starts working. I'm like, that's fine, but what's wrong with my arm? Why doesn't it work?
Right.
Oh, well, nothing. I'm like, oh, well, this guy on Facebook went to elementary school with him. He told me brachial plexus injury. Doctor, like, turned around, walked 10 feet towards the door, opened his notepad, and diagnosed me with the brachial plexus injury.
You're kidding me. Oh, yeah. Wow.
I'm not. So that's at this point I still didn't even know what was wrong with me. They didn't even want to do the test because they didn't want to fight the insurance. So fast forward, what was the worst 3 months of my life because I had no idea what was wrong with me. Um, to me, I've always been a let it go. Well, to some things, let it go person. And I'm like, well, it doesn't work. Like, let's cut it off.
I don't.
I'd like to move on with life, and this shit is not helping.
Yeah.
Well, in that 3 months, my daughter was 3 months T minus being born. So my daughter was born 3 months after my accident. Um, it was the most like depressing time of my life, right up until she was born, because I'm like, I'm a brand new dad. I'm going in this as a single father from the get go. The other end of this is the other end of this. That's as nice as I can put it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do you even hold an infant? Like everyone's afraid to hold an infant. I'm sure it's fresh, 5 minutes out the womb. And I'm like, I got to do it with one. Like, how do you pick it up? What if I drop her?
Oh
Like,
my gosh.
so I wouldn't eat. My dad had to bring over insures, and I would drink like 6 or 7 insures a day for like a month and a half because I
Because you were
wouldn't eat.
because you're so depressed.
Yeah, but also you don't realize it. I love this one at schools, but when you go to make a sandwich, something over here, a finger or a hand is holding the bread still while you spread. Well, if you go to spread without holding it, the bread just keeps going. And it's like, I'm a 27-year-old man who can't even make a sandwich without like wanting to run away.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, so, but no, they put my daughter in my hand. I was first one to hold her, all these things and everything. They gave it right to me. And I've I've not had to worry about how I'm gonna do things since then. I don't worry about how I'm gonna do things because I'm gonna find a way. Um, I do things way more efficiently with one arm than I ever did with two. Um, I do things now. Before, I think I was just merely existing, but now, like, I don't know, I do things with intent and purpose. Um, yeah.
So let's talk for a second about so you it sounds like you didn't have to give up your arm. But you did, is it fair to say you did like you self-selected to amputate your arm because
Yeah.
you thought this is just not going to go anywhere?
Yeah, they call it same thing, but elective.
Elective. Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
Elective.
Well, I
Um
mean, yeah.
yeah,
Because they wanted me to keep it. I had to fight for a year to find a doctor, and it was like, you're not gonna help me. Well, we don't think. Okay, goodbye. And I'd call up. I'd find another doctor. I went through 11 doctors total. Um, before I found one that was like, let's do this. Like, this is gonna help you. This is gonna improve your life. And it honestly really has. Um, but no, it got to the point where I was telling people that if you weren't gonna do it, I was gonna do it myself outside the hospital. I don't feel the arm. I literally told the surgeons, I'm like, I will walk outside, put my arm in the door, and fucking run, and I will break it to the point you have to amputate it.
Did
It's
you
getting.
did you honestly like have a plan moving forward? I mean, going and seeing 11 doctors, that's a hell of a lot of appointments to go to and being told no time and time and time and time again. But did you have like a thought of like, if I gotta take my own arm, this is how I'm gonna do it?
Oh no, I didn't just come up with that off the top of my head. You can ask friends. I was going to amputate my arm one way or another. Um, one way or another, the job's gonna get done. And I know at the end of the day, you have to save my life. I'm
Yeah.
not, yeah.
Did
I
you
it
have
just
did you have to come to kind of peace with yourself about losing your arm, or were you just like, I'm ready, let's do it? And then what was that like for you waking up with, with your appendage? It's gone.
I think so. It was this was great for me in so many ways, this happening to me because of uh how easily it was for me to accept the fact that I most certainly will probably have to remove my arm. Not have to, but it's no longer of use of service. It's still just as paralyzed as it was almost 8 years ago. So to all the people that are like, no, you need to wait. I'm like, it's been 8 years and this shit is still just as here as it was. Um, but I think in the manner of my wreck, like that's why I don't say accident. I should not have never been on my bike. Um, and I like to look back on that because it showed me that like I've matured and I accepted responsibility for my own choices. I am very thankful that I didn't harm anyone in the process of my stupidity. Um, so it for me at that point in my life, when I found out I was going to be a dad, I know the exact day, I know the exact time. Um, I know the day she was conceived, the exact time. So it just I wanted to change my life. I felt that my daughter deserved more of me. So from then on, as she was, being in the bun in the oven, I just started accepting things and taking responsibility.
Mm. Good for you.
Um,
Well,
so
good
there's
for
the
you.
acceptance part, and then I can't remember the other half of it. Sorry, because you asked about acceptance, and then there was one other thing, um, but I don't remember it.
That's okay. Don't even sweat it. So I kind of want to just moving on a
Oh, what
little.
was it? What was it like about waking up?
Yeah.
Um, I can do it very short. I remember the post I made. I'm here. Here's the appendage being wrapped, and the post just said free.
Huh.
I no longer had to wake up in the morning and think about, am I cutting my arm off today? Who's gonna cut my arm off today? Is some doctor gonna believe me because my nerves being ripped out and my arm not working and all the phantom pain I go through? It doesn't show up on a chart or there's not a test to show that that's real.
Yeah.
Um, so I every day and every night I woke up wondering if someone was gonna believe me,
Right.
if they're gonna help me cut my arm off. Why do they want to cut up my right thigh to then make me a fake shit over here? And it's like, nah, like let's leave these legs alone. So I just felt free.
So, that's a real brave thing to do. I can't imagine day in and day out of having this useless thing attached to my body where like easy for you to say like give it a couple years to see if it like heals itself, like somehow something magical is going to happen where your own body. Like I'm telling you to the best of my ability that you're wrong, and I appreciate your sound medical advice, but I know in my heart that I'm right here, that this has got to go. But then to like have to go in and out of every single day, like rolling over on it while you're sleeping, having it be when you dress or whatever else. And then, as you mentioned, the phantom pain, which I cannot even imagine what that must feel like for as long as you did have that. My goodness.
Yeah, I broke it. I broke this arm and hand in different places 4 times during the 22 months I did have it attached to me. My daughter was 3 months old. When my daughter was 3 months old, I was burping her in the middle of the night, and I made her a 2 ounce bottle, just the rest of it, while she wanted more. So I'm burping her while the bottle warmer's on. It's an old school kettle type, so it boils. My arm is over the bottle warmer, and my hand is in the water, and I don't realize because it's 3 a.m. and
Oh my God. You're
I'm
cooking your own
burping,
hand?
I'm burping my 3 month old.
Like something
So
smells delicious. Oh, it's me.
and it right. Well, I mean, I get that a lot. But so with it being so delayed because it's not, everything's not hooked up in the system over here. My arm then 4 hours later decided to randomly swell up the size of a baseball.
Oh my God.
So I went to the burn unit and I was in the intensive burn unit for 5 days for a nearly fourth degree burn. Didn't even know they had a fourth degree. They had to cut the skin off my hand front and back, all the layers. And then they thought I was a junkie because I can't feel anything and I'm just laughing at them and like thinking it's cool. They're cutting the skin off my hand and I don't feel anything. Like this
Right.
is cool. So they were just, and I'm like, my arm doesn't work. They're like, oh, and I'm like, look, I know it's Phoenix, Arizona, and I know I'm dark skinned and I look like a bum. I'm just a minimalist, somewhat. Like, I'm not a junkie. I don't feel my arm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, good times.
Wow, that is mm. So
Uh,
you don't have time for this shit. You have a little kid. You're a liability to yourself to a certain degree, right?
the
Okay,
one on the stomach, the
he's
one on
pointing
the
to a scar in his belly, folks. If you're listening to the podcast, you got to watch the
the
video
one
if
on
you're not
my
watching.
stomach, this is a colostomy bag. I had a ATV from my 2001 Yamaha Raptor, the handlebar, go into my abdomen when I was 16
Oh
at
my
the
God,
dunes.
Jeremy.
And I had to get rushed to Yuma Hospital for emergency surgery for a emergency something. I forget. I don't want to, it's not colonoscopy, but I had a colostomy bag. I had a shit
Yeah.
bag for 3 months.
Yeah.
At 16, and then loop monitor pacemaker for SVTA, super ventricular tachycardia. A bad heart rhythm where they went in and did cardiac ablation through my thigh and retimed my heart. Um, this is 27, cut it off at 29. Yeah. And there's a whole bunch in between.
Wow. Okay. I think we're good on the Jeremy sort of like the med. I didn't know there was gonna be so much medical stuff that like, oh my gosh, my
Oh,
friend.
that, yeah.
Oh, I don't know if I want you to do Leadville anymore. Like, I don't know. I'm so
Oh
glad.
no, it's been proven time after time. I'm here for a reason.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
Not even religious. It's just I'm there is a reason I am still moving and grooving and I intend to try and do good with it.
If that what does not kill you makes you stronger, you may be the strongest individual I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, look at this shirt. Whatever doesn't kill you makes you adaptive.
I love that. That's great. And so now I think we're coming into the part of the interview where we're talking about we take something that is so difficult as what you've experienced with your life and having to, you know, to elect to have your arm amputated because it was just hot garbage for you for so long. And then meanwhile, you are taking care of your daughter by yourself. Sounds like you got some family support there too. That's a wonderful, beautiful thing. Um, but then you decide to like, you know what? I need to be able to hold my daughter and take care of her. So into the gym I go. Going to a gym can be intimidating for anybody. I don't think you easily get intimidated. Um, so talk about how the gym has kind of helped turn your life around to a degree. I mean, it certainly has helped you get to where you are today. And you know, like it or not, you are inspiring a lot of people, especially those who are in the adaptive community. who need to see a role model. Like, I can do this. They look just like me. I can do this too. So share with us a little bit about that experience of getting to the gym, and where did this sort of going there just for like, hey, just I need the kind of foundation to take care of my kiddo, and then just it just skyrockets and elevates to something else.
Yeah, exactly. First and foremost, I would not be here without the help of all my family and my friends. Yes, I'm a single father, but I wouldn't be able to run or even attempt to do the physical challenges I do without help. Um, but to start off, um, it was March 26, 2016, my first day at the gym. Um, I wanted to go, like I said, because even just holding a small newborn baby, like it was hard to static hold her. Plus, while I'm burping, I don't have an arm to hold and burp. I have to figure out how to maneuver this arm to hold and then still pat to burp while making sure the newborn doesn't go down. Um, so I worked out at home for like 2 months and with friends in their garages to build up some sort of confidence because I'm very confident, but not in a gym, like a global gym area, not at all. I'm the guy that walks in and gets scared and instantly just goes to the treadmill and just starts running. But thankfully, a lot of friends were there to just take me to the gym and show me exercises and work me out, as well as push me and not treat me any differently than they did prior to my wreck. So I'm very thankful for those individuals. I love them. But I would just go and just random strangers would change their times that they would go in and work out so that way they could be there. Because I'm at this point after my accident, I dropped down to 95 pounds,
Wow.
even still with the arm hanging and everything. But I would go to the gym and I would just have the barbell and I'd be bench pressing. Well, people would always come over like, hey, like, are you ever going to use this thing? And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, this bar is more than half my weight. Like this, and I got one arm. This is my workout. But I would push it and the bar would fall on me and I'm like with one arm, and I got the bar with weight, but strangers would run over and help me, and then they would literally switch their days and their times just so they could be there to help me.
Wow.
I love them for it too.
Yeah.
Um, and then the going to the gym the 5, 6, 7 times a day because that's all I was doing. Um, when I wasn't with my daughter, got boring. It wasn't for me. So then I saw someone doing Murph one day. Uh, I don't know if you know, but Murph is a workout where it's a 1 mile run, and then it's what 300 or no 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 air squats, and then another 1 mile run for time while wearing a 20-pound vest for men and 14 for women. So I was like, yo, like that's wild. Like I need to get on that. So then I started CrossFit literally 3 days later. And then I went to an event and saw some traveling adaptive CrossFit like athletes. Met them. Vanessa Cantu. She introduced me to David Barbora, who is an ex NFL football player for the Rams and Seahawks. While he does an compound for adaptive athletes, and I believe now it's Carrollton, Texas. It's a 9-week program, and you basically go and live out there, and then like literally an NFL compound of a whole wide array of things, and services provided to you and networking. So I did that. My daughter was 1 year at that time. Came home, and then I started traveling, doing adaptive CrossFit. In the middle of what is it? The CrossFit Open. After week 2, I scheduled my arm to be amputated the day of my workout, but after my workout, which gave me enough time to have my arm cut off and rest for 6 days before I had 12 hours to then do the other workout and submit that week, which I did. Um, yeah, so and then it just continually progressed, and then I'm in Miami doing, 4 or 5 day fitness competitions, and then I break my hand training for one competition. I start running with Spartan. Very thankful for all the networking that I've gotten through them and all the people. I've joined with nonprofits, OEW and Oscar Mike, and I've gone across the Grand Canyon helping disabled vets go rim to rim on multi-day trips. For 4 years. I got to do that. Uh, and yeah, now I'm the trail community. You guys are wild. You guys are real, 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 real.
Yeah, we kind
I
of have a
love it.
reputation for that. And
Yeah.
it really is a go ahead, I don't interrupt you.
Oh, no, no, no. I mean, I love it. You guys are. I would say you guys are like Texas compared to like Phoenix. In Texas, if you get because Texas is like my second home. I live there honestly once every 2 or 3 years. I go for like 6 months. But someone gets a flat tire, the whole damn county is on the side of the road helping this person change their tire. And they're like, no, 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 you sit in the AC, hand them some sweet tea. Phoenix is good luck.
Good luck, everybody else. Yeah.
someone to stop to help you with your flat tire, and you'll treat them like they're gonna rob you. So it's not that bad. But no, you guys are during my race, like it was the most because I obviously have different challenges, and I'm trying to fit things in while I'm still running, and anything on the left side is like the necessities, but things I don't need to get out real quickly because I can't access everything, so I have to take everything off.
Yeah.
There was runners behind me that were speeding up or yelling at me to just chill, and they ran up behind me and were doing everything for me, like they were a pacer that was able to help, and I'm like, yo, that's love.
Yeah. It
Not
it
you know.
Yeah, it is. And that's what, for a lot of people, that's what the draw is for the trail running community, ultra community, is that we're here to support each other no matter what. I don't know you from anyone, but you can depend on almost anyone to be there for you. So let's talk about running ultras. What was your decision point in choosing to run the 60K there at Black Canyon?
So I signed up for the 60K, I believe 13 or 14 days before the race.
Like one does.
That
I forget who I'm talking to here.
that is also yeah, my first marathon was signed up the night before, and I ran like 6 hours later.
Makes perfect sense.
Um,
Perfect sense. I
yeah.
like I like
Uh,
the Jeremy sort of
I'm
program.
I'm an overthinker, so if you give me time to think about it, I'll find a problem.
Yeah.
Um, so it's helping me to live in the present. But
So, what was
so
your longest run going leading up to after you make it? Well, yeah. What was your longest run closing in on that start line?
so my longest run, like recently in the last like even like 2 years, 17 miles, and that was 9 days or 8 days before the race. But I was kind of in a tricky situation because I'm using all of this to train for Leadville. But then I'm like, well, how do I taper for this when everyone's already tapering at the point that I'm signing up for it? I'm like, so I just in my head wanted to remember that, like, take your ego out of it. This is a training run for you, a
Yep.
training race. Um, I'm smart enough to know that you got to be in the environment at least once for your nervous system to know how it's going to react. Because you can train all day, every day, and try to mimic a race setting situation. But when someone's in front of you or someone's behind you, and you maybe got like a half mile left or something, say for racing, you're gonna react differently. You're gonna have more adrenaline. You're gonna, your senses are gonna be kind of off or more in tune. So I'm nobody special. I just know that simple science. And I'm like, I need to get in a race setting to see if I can actually maintain the paces that I want. Also, I have no idea how to pace for a 60K. I have no idea how to pace. I fly down the fastest mile I've ran in 4 years was taking that FKT. Um, so it was, I don't know, it was for me to a learning lesson, but also I wanted to like get in the community. I wanted to be around people that I felt that I could be around.
Yeah.
Um,
So you
mainly,
finished the race in 7 hours 21 minutes. You were 88th overall, 49th in the male division. Um, when you were standing there at the start line, knowing that you've got a 60K to to run before the finish, what's going through your mind at that point?
um, it was cold, and then I just uh road racing. You know, you have the pleasure of someone with a sign with the pace or the estimated time they plan to finish.
Yeah.
So you know kind of where to position yourself in the starting corrals. While we had, I think, nearly 400 people in our corral. And I have no idea who any of these people are other than maybe 4 or 5 people I know from Instagram
Uh-huh.
and Aravaipa. So I just remember that I need to run my own race. I had a I was online and using like a pace calculator and all that stuff. And I'm like, I think I can hold a 9 or 10 minute mile pace throughout this race. But then I'm like, well, how do you distinguish and change things depending on descent or flat
Oh,
or
wowzers. Oh
ascent?
boy, we're trial by
So
fire here, folks.
yeah, and I told you I was like I'm an overthinker. So I'm like, you know what? The best advice I got was another volunteer that I helped with, Scotty, that said, just take each section, like each aid station, as its own race. He's like, what you need to be doing is playing around with things. Wear your watch on over here because I like it over here because it's out of the way. I don't feel anything. It's just here.
So just
But
for folks who are listening, so Jeremy wears his watch on the nub of his amputated arm, just so you know. Go ahead.
yeah, and so it's hard for me to see because also like it doesn't move. This is my shoulder and trap. So I can't, while I'm running, see it. So, and my heart rate gets thrown a little off because it's the paralyzed side, so some things aren't fully up to function. So I threw it on this side, my paralyzed side. Then I threw it on my right wrist. I do this little thing with my mouth and all these crazy shit, and I somehow get my watch on. Um, and then I tried it with my watch face on the actual wrist, like on the inside, so that when I'm running, I don't have to move my arm or hand that much to take away energy. Um, I know that for some people that might not seem like a lot, but that is a lot of energy, especially when it's the one arm you have. And all my balance has to be off balance in a certain way
Yeah.
due to the weight differences. So like
Yeah.
my left side, or go ahead and ask. 'Cause I think
Yeah.
we're leading into the
So
same thing.
what are some of the complications that you have when it comes to running on trail?
So when I run, I am automatically at an imbalance. Um, at first, I believe it's a disadvantage, but then I believe once you make it your friend and know how to run with it, all puns intended, it becomes your friend. So everyone bitches about the rocks and boulders and all this shit, and I'm like, I think that's the most fun part, like floating from rock to rock, like and just going with wherever it's taking you. I know it's dangerous, but I guess that's why I have a lot of scars and stuff. So,
Maybe. I'm no detective, but possibly.
but I believe when I'm thrown in an unwanted scenario or an unexpected situation, I know how to better react. Because I believe that every step is the right step, no matter what it is. Um, I kind of have to live that way. Some of my imbalances that I have to deal with, some of the different challenges than other runners because I mean we all have them, so I don't think anything's worse than the other. Um, but I've combat scoliosis just because of the weight differences. So the top of my spine tries to used to lean to the left, now it's curving to the right.
Mhm.
But that's why I focus on a lot of core or back strengthening exercises because it's great for everyone, but it helps keep my spine straight and protect it. Um, but being off balance, it's better for me because when I am thrown off balance per what something should be, I already know how to react because that's just my everyday life is just going with the flow.
Yeah.
Um, One of the hardest things is my left side, which for trail running, it doesn't bother me that much. For sprinting, and like 1 mile 5Ks, my left side, my appendage, what is left, my residual limb, swings with my right arm and left leg, which is not supposed to happen. And
Right.
then
Right.
sometimes, yeah, and sometimes it switches. So I can flex it, the tricep, and it holds it still to my body, the way my surgeon rerouted my arm and my muscles. But then that takes away energy from my core and everything. So, but the biggest thing would be breathing. My lung doesn't fully open the way everyone else's does, especially there's some because I am paralyzed a little bit in my pec and then lower back. But the main thing is when you're throwing your arms back and forth, you are actually creating more space and you're contracting. And so I can't take as deep of breaths as everyone else. But I mean, honestly, my body's adapted. So prior to cutting the arm off, I used to stand still and have a camelback, put my arm like this. So I would cradle my arm in a backpack, the straps, and then someone would duct tape 2 wraps around my body, and that's how I would be able to run and do CrossFit. And I did that twice a day to work out twice a day, every day for like 18 months.
Wow.
Um, so I saved a lot of money, and I had a simple weight loss surgery. Two birds with one stone. So
Wow. Wow.
no,
Wow. What?
there is a lot. But I don't ever try to use that against anything. I think that those are just my challenges.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm stronger for them because I've been in the worst pain of my entire life since June 20th, 2015. Every day, all day. It doesn't matter what thing you could think of as a human experience. I am experiencing pain in every instant of it. And it's nothing to be sad about. Um, I've made it my friend. So I like to tell kids when I speak to them that it's my junkyard dog. It's what's behind me, pushing me to get out. I mean, you're either gonna get eaten and mauled by a junkyard dog, you know, um, or you're gonna do everything you can to fight for your life and keep going. And I think that's one of the reasons I love like suffer fests and pain caves. And I want to do R5 this year because I like where that takes me in my head. So
When you're talking about this pain you're living with, I mean, is it every moment of the day you've got some pain going for you? If you do, then where does it resonate?
as far as like where does it come from?
Yeah.
So the pain I experience, phantom limb pain, most of it, uh, it's because you are a circuit. You're like a motherboard to a computer, everything up here. Um, you're designed for what you're designed for. That's just plain and simple. Uh, Cars, if you take off a 10-cent little fuse out of the car doesn't work no matter how brand new it is.
Mhm.
So for me, my brain is still trying to fire everything over here because like we just do a lot of things. So like I'm not telling my brain to do this. So my brain is still trying to fire on the other side. Um, or when I fall to the left on those downgrades, my brain tries to fire it while the signal is broke. My circuit is ripped. So excuse me. Yeah, it's just my body trying. It's my body letting me know that there's an issue, which it is a good thing. Unfortunately, it causes pain, and it's trying to work. So Although it's most likely never going to work, I think it's cool that my body is still trying to make that connection.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's been nearly 8 years. Um, and I think by now, if I had not accepted it already, it would just be one more thing that could possibly drive me crazy.
Right. Right. Wow. Wow. Wow.
So
Wow.
now I tell people I'm thankful to feel it because the first 8 months, there's a feeling that I had. You didn't feel anything up here. Like there was no feeling, no numbness, no tingling, no pain, no nothing. Um, I don't know. And I feel like I know what it feels like to feel absolutely nothing. And I don't ever want to feel that again.
Wow.
So I'll
Wow.
take the pain. I'll take the pain all day, every day. Because if I know that I can deal with this, I can make these legs go a little bit further.
Wow, print that. That was wonderfully said, Jeremy. Um, we're quickly running out of time here. But there's some, I want to talk about the kind of when people encounter you on the trail. I'm sure you get lots of looks in your daily life. Like you're rolling your eyes right now, like, yeah, brother, you have no idea. Um, but what are some common faux pas people make? And what should people know when they encounter someone who is, an amputee? Like, what are some things that you just want people just to know? Like, can we just be cool here? You know?
Have you read some of my posts? um, yeah, I get stopped a lot. I've done charities on some of the mountains, the same mountains that I have the FKT. I've done 11 times in 9 hours for a charity to raise money for women's shelters for mothers with drugs and stuff. Um, so somewhat known, but I've also in the past 7 years I've been on every news station in Arizona at least 5, 6 times.
Yeah.
Um, so I think the biggest thing for me is like when I go to the mountain, I want to be with the mountain. Um, Obviously, I give everyone like all the warnings. I have a hat and it is with a bill facing down, and I'm looking down, and I have headphones. Don't talk to that person. Leave
Yeah.
them be.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of people do stop me because I do the mountains this time of year. I usually do one summit a day barefoot. And I usually do Piasua Peak or Camelback 3 times like consecutively in a day. Um, so I don't know. I just as far as like people with like anyone different, we'll just take it even there. But especially a physical difference, like imagine if I see someone who's 400 pounds trying to work their way at whatever rate they are, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, yeah, you got this shit. You're doing great. And it's like, it's kind of do it once or like in a polite way if the person's talking with you. Um, but you kind of got to dance around the fact because are you saying that they're doing something amazing or are you just saying it because
Yeah.
they're overweight?
Right.
Because people who are 400 pounds shouldn't do stuff like this. I'm like, there's like people who are 400 pounds that do backflips. Like, um, it is annoying. Um, but I understand it's different. But for me, it is kind of annoying that a lot of people very shallow like, I don't know what the word would be, but they think I'm doing something amazing simply because I did. Like, I got kids, adults who tell me I'm amazing for doing the mountain with one arm. And I'm like, yes, I do have differences and balance issues, but they don't even know that. But I have two feet, 2 legs, and you too are here. Like, so I understand a lot of people don't think that they themselves are great, uh, but I just think that you shouldn't treat people any differently, just especially because of the physical difference. There's a guy on the mountains just like me, but he's a hip or disarticulate. So his whole, I believe, right leg at the hip is not there. It is non-existent after I think cancer.
Mhm.
And he on his 2 crutches and his one leg, he flies up and down the mountains too. Um, But I mean, it's no different. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's everyone means well. I don't think a lot of people like to do it with negative intent or ill
Right.
will, but like I'm no different than anyone else. Like I'm just there to do my thing just like you. And I personally think that if you think I'm inspiring, to not believe that that same light on that same level that you create is not within you is ridiculous to me, because things that don't resonate with me, that I have amazing friends who do a lot of crazy cool ass shit, but the ones that like do stuff that doesn't resonate with me, I'm like, yo, like you got to talk to someone else. Like I can't help you with this. I see no point in even going that way with whatever, you know?
Yeah.
My point is the light in me is the light in you. If you can't accept that you are just as inspirational as I am for the way you do things, then I'll never accept your I'll shoe fly you every time.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want you to see that you were amazing. You bro, you're alive. You're breathing. Like you're a success at that. All day, every day. You're a success. Like maybe not in the rat race of society, but I don't know. I
Arms.
guess just
So go
yeah,
ahead.
I don't
Sorry.
know. No, I was just gonna say I don't know. Just don't treat people differently just because of physical difference. But also if you have questions, ask. Also, with anything in life, you got to read the room, because I'm the one that's gonna make the first damn joke about one arm or I feel left out. I'm the right hand man, and you know,
Oh my gosh.
and but other people, you might, because a lot of people walk up and they're like, "What's wrong with you?" or "Where's your arm?"
No, you're
Like,
kidding.
and these are
That is
people.
that's
These are
happened to you?
these are
Seriously?
people that I do not know. So I get thanked for my service almost every day of my life. I'm civilian, love military, help out with all the nonprofits, but I'm civilian. I get old war veterans that get upset with me because after 5 minutes and me saying civilian 15 times, they then realize that I didn't get blown up somewhere. And they waste, and then they get mad at me. And I'm like, what? I don't go to veterans parades anymore. I've had veterans, a 103-year-old man, get off the float and then shake my hand. And I'm like, how do I tell this man that he just did that
Oh
for
my
nothing?
God.
Like,
I would feel
so you,
so terrible. Oh my
so
gosh.
so you don't tell him. You say thank you, sir. That's what my friends have told me to say, and now I just don't go. But no, usually 3 4 times a week, someone comes up to me, adult, from 60 years old to 6 years old. What's wrong with you? Where's your arm? And I'm like, well, I don't know. Or they're like,
I don't
well,
know. Have
why
you
do you
seen
only
it?
have, yeah,
Jesus,
why do
what's
you
wrong
only
with
have one
you?
arm? And I'm like, why do you have two? Well, because you're supposed to. I'm like, who says you're supposed to have two? I'm like, I know where I'm going every day. You got options, got to think about it. Like, I got the right hand for the job, no matter what we're doing. Like, I win. So I don't know. At first, yeah, I used to get angry. I didn't care if your kid was 3 or 4. I'd grab that kid and I'd be like, look, we're gonna go talk to your parents on how we approach people, because a lot of people don't have my confidence, or they're not okay with this. Some people were born this way, and if you walk up and say what's wrong with you, it's like you're
Yeah.
saying that they're not
Yeah.
whole.
Right.
And everyone's whole as they are, the way that they were born, and always will be. But so it's, I mean, ask at your own free will.
On the other side of this, are the people who see you. Um, and have you heard from folks that reached out to you just kind of out of nowhere saying, Jeremy, I see what you're doing and it's really inspired me?
I get message due to COVID, like things slow down with like traveling and events. Plus, I started to take a better look at me and my daughter's life to work within. But no, almost every other day. I've got people in the Philippines who, when I was there, were trying to see me. I got people in London trying to see me. I've been very blessed to travel this world, off the continent to different continents. I've been very blessed to travel the country, so it's great. to have schools or to have organizations reach out to me to go do like motivational speaking or um, talk to someone who the injury just happened. So it's yeah, it's nice to know that like what I am doing for myself first and foremost, because I understand, at least for me, that's how I can then help the rest of the world, including my daughter and family, how I can, um, is to take care of myself. So it's it's reassuring, it's validation, um, because I'm just trying to live my life the way I want to live it, not what anyone else thinks. The only one I'm ever really gonna concern myself with, like their opinion, is my daughter. Um, as far as her life goes, her and I, like she makes the decisions for most of her life. I can genuinely say that she is in control of like 85% of her life. Um, I'd rather live in a van. She goes to some crazy, amazing school where she's, a genius already at 7 years old. Um, so yeah, I don't know. It's nice to see, to have I don't know, to have it validated in another sense of I help someone and now they too are using fitness and running um, to then help other people in their lives. So
Yeah.
I don't know, it feels good.
This, I hope this question is not insensitive. So please forgive me if it is. Um, but would you, given sort of where you are in life now and sort of just how the ripple effect of who you are and how you know where my question's going, right? Maybe like, would you trade it all back? Would you?
I tell people and like I don't know, I say things that are far fetched to most people. I got bored skydiving, so I'm different. Um, I feel like I still owe the other arm.
Hmm.
Uh, um, I genuinely the old me prior to my arm and even just 3 4 years ago would like slap this person the way I talk now. But I'm genuinely like I wake up happy, like happy, um, to just breathe. Um, and then obviously I look over at my daughter and I'm like, yo, like I'm already winning. But no, I feel that I am already living on bonus time. The accidents I mentioned to you were just three or four of the major ones in my life. But in between those, they're like every 3 or 6 months, like falling down that same mountain and shattering my kneecap and having to hop down on one leg. Like I'm like, oh crap, I'm about to be that much more inspirational now that we're gonna have to take the legs. So, um, but I just no, I'm genuinely happy to be alive, and I'm so thankful that like I had a 0.274 blood alcohol level, and I made a very stupid decision, and thankfully didn't harm anyone else, and I got away with cutting off an arm. Like I have other things I deal with, but like all I did was give up an arm. I gave up an arm and literally childhood dream achieved. Like dream achieved. I wanted to run marathons as a 6 year old, run marathons, and then have my own motorcycle. Stopped running because they wanted you to run short shorts in high school. Became a delinquent. Got
Wait, seriously?
motorcycle,
You stopped running because of the short shorts?
and I know you see the blue ones I wear now.
Yeah.
The shorts were even longer than those ones. And I was like, I came from South Phoenix. I was like, and I'm a skinny, scrawny little tiny boy. I'm like, no, F you, I'm not. Running is cool and shit, but no,
Not for
So,
those.
and I mean, and from third grade to eighth grade, I never got less than third place. It was first to third every race of every cross country from
Oh
third to eighth.
man.
And I mean, that's just third to eighth. But freshman year, 2 weeks before the first meet, they said that they had the uniforms and the guys had to wear them. I was like, "You're no," so I quit.
Wow.
um, but then that led me down the path of effing off and becoming a damn delinquent. I wasn't
Yeah.
harming people, but
Yeah.
doing shit I shouldn't have been doing, wasting my life and potential away. And then I got my first motorcycle by myself because my dad would never help in that. Supports it, but would never help me get it. path of motorcycles gave me a great 12, 14 years of my life, traveling and stuff. But because of that and the drinking delinquency, I then turned into, this, and then I needed another high. I learned how to ride 5 months after my accident with only one arm. I can still ride motorcycles. I still ride motorcycles like once a year. To me, it's not worth putting myself in the opportunity. It's not worth adding to the opportunity of taking myself out of this world for my daughter.
Right.
When she flees the coop and starts being a free bird herself, motorcycles are back in my life at some point in one way or another. Probably trails, no cars to hit me. Um, but that led me back to running. And now I literally have been paid to run. I got paid $2,500 to run a 5K race that I was paid to fly out to and resort paid for all these things. Like what? Um, I've I guess quote unquote professional athlete. I get paid to run. I get paid to compete, um, in good amounts, and now I get to give back and use running. I believe that my gift, my purpose is to run. Um, Not to be the best in the world, to be my best, and the amount of thanks I get and the people I've helped and how I've helped myself and my daughter just with running. That's why I just tell people, like, I don't care what you're good at. What you do is what you do, and like someone out there wants it. Like there would not be this without the other end of it. So come on, get with it. So I don't know. I get to run for a living, and thankfully I got family and friends that help me with my daughter, to where, in the first 5 6 years I was in a different state every 3 weeks. 3 weeks out of a month I was in a different state. That's not possible for a single parent, especially one with one arm and a
Right.
full-time athlete. So my family and my friends are, I would not be here even just talking to you right now if it weren't for those people allowing these things to all stack up. So now yeah, like I love life, and anything and everything that is in my life is like the best, because that's where I'm supposed to be. And talk to a flower nicely or talk to it badly, it's gonna grow or not. So I don't know. The old me would just turn this shit off right now. Who the fuck is this guy?
Well, this guy is Jeremy Ogle, arm solo. Jeremy, I am so thankful for you taking the time and sharing your story with all of us. And I cannot wait to see how things go for you at Leadville and everything else coming your way. Just you being you, is quite enough for me. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I can ramble sometimes, so I just talk with a little girl or a mountain. So
I'm here, whatever you need it.
yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. We'll talk again soon.